Hi, and welcome to the Higher Education Access Corner. I'm your host, Tiffanie DeVan, and I am happy to have with me today Mr. Leland J. Nelson. Leland, for those of you who are local in the community, know Mr. Nelson. He kind of has his hands on a lot of different things, so we're going to have a sit-down conversation with him. Leland, welcome to the Higher Education Access Corner.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so to get started, I do want to read Leland's nice, hearty bio. Since 2011, Mr. Nelson has served as the president of the African American Chamber of Commerce of Central PA. And then in this role, he has assisted over 150 small, diverse businesses. He's helped them take the next steps in their business journey, from certification classes to PPP applications and then subsequent loan relief. In addition, he is a College of Business Advisory Board member for Delaware State University and Penn State University. He also serves as a board member at Central Penn College. Mr. Nelson is considered a portfolio entrepreneur with past business ventures in home restoration, private label clothing, event promotion, and is currently the managing partner of Think Tank Consulting, specializing in robotic process, automation, and IT staffing. Leland earned a Bachelor of Science in Accounting from Delaware State University, where he also started his first business, CMB Photography. I remember that, CMB Photography, which grew into a network of students providing instant photography services to several different schools: Lincoln University, Wesley, University of Delaware, Cheney, and Hampton University. In 2017, Mr. Nelson completed his MBA from Penn State University, or shall I say the Penn State University, while serving as a first graduate advisor for the newly formed Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Mr. Nelson also started his career, he originally started his career as an accountant at KPMG LLP, a Big Four advisory and tax firm in Harrisburg, where he rose to the ranks of supervising senior accountant. During his tenure there, he was on the engagement team for various companies and corporations for fun. We call this fun. Mr. Nelson has served as head coach of the Harrisburg Cougars Wrestling Club since 2008. I say you call that fun. Yeah. I call that a rewarding thing to do to kind of help and coach and mentor those young students. He also has various professional leadership positions. Again, he's the president of the African American Chamber of Commerce. He's a member of the Governor's Advisory Council on Diversity and Inclusion and Small Business Opportunities. He's also a charter member of the National Black MBA Association of Greater Harrisburg, as well as Diversity and Inclusion Professionals of Central PA. So he's also had some awards. One, I won't read them all, but one of the most recent awards, I think he was Entrepreneur of the Year with Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated for their Achievement Week, which was just held in November 2023. That was a hearty bio, but I wanted everybody to get the meat of who you are and who I am meeting with.
Thank you.
So again, welcome to the Higher Education Access Corner.
Thanks for having me, Tiffany. I really appreciate it. It's always good to be, that's right down the street. I think before we started the podcast, I'll let you know that I worked here at FIA as an intern, and then as a member of KPMG staff as a brand new associate accountant. Worked here for 3 years on the audit engagement, so it's a full cycle.
Definitely full circle moment
yeah,
here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so welcome back.
Thank you.
And this time you get to provide, sometimes when you and I are talking, so you're providing some more gems or some nuggets to our listeners. So, and we have a wide array of listeners, and I'm pretty sure that they will take advantage of all of the stuff that we're going to talk about. One of the things that you and I, when we're talking, a lot of times we've seen each other on the secondary level, post-secondary level, whether it's a conference or it's a meetings, advisory boards, and we're always talking about that student. Every student has to have a plan, and you're always big on that and pushing that. And in some of your past positions, you talked about that. So explain what you mean to our listeners about every student needs to have a plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So about 5 years ago, I was brought on on a multi-year assignment with the Harrisburg School District. And at the time, it was a thing called a 339 plan, which the state of Pennsylvania has, and it's ensuring that students are exposed to career pathways. So every school in the state of Pennsylvania and the Commonwealth has to have this 339 plan. I think it was mandated in the end of this year or beginning of 24 to ensure that we're not just going to schools or colleges and blindly, college for everyone. Mm-hmm. But what's your plan? We see a lot of students going to college undeclared. Undeclared is good for the university and maybe bad for the student because it adds an extra year automatically to your, your college career.
Or
so
more sometimes.
Extra year, extra money, and we're seeing that it's taking about 5.25 years to get your degree. That's a national statistic and not coming from me. It takes 5.25 years to get a 4-year degree now. So when if you're being intentional in getting students exposed to career pathways early on, they can make a conscious decision on which way they want to do, which way they want to go. So early exposure, early education, and empowering those students to create their own plan. And I think it's more about work-based learning. I think it's career pathway speakers in the classroom. It's about educator in the workplace the educators coming out of their schools, going to the corporations and finding out what those employers need. So you have a matching. We're teaching these kids. We're still doing Beowulf and Scarlet Letter, and they need to make sure that our students are workforce prepared with soft skills and things like that. So meshing those two things together, because you have this thing called a silver tsunami. We were just together on Friday. I just turned 50 years old. We're on the backside of maybe retiring. So it's all these folks retiring in Pennsylvania, and you have to replenish that workforce. How do you do that? Right. And I think with Governor Shapiro is announcing that 92% of all jobs in the Commonwealth don't require a bachelor's degree, they will require some kind of micro credential. You just can't come out of high school.
You need some education.
Some kind of 2-year, 1 year, or a certificate of sorts to work in that organization, or different companies in the area. So it won't be right out of high school straight to work, but it could be that way if you have a co-op or internship that gives you that real life world experience. One of my examples, we're going to talk about my journey, but I'll add this right now. Went to Delaware State first for accounting. My sophomore year, got a call from a teacher from Harrisburg School District, and his wife was the recruiter for KPMG Harrisburg. And they had this new program called Enrolled. So shout out to all the enrollers out there. That program's been around for over 50 years. And they said they were looking for engineers, accountants, diverse individuals that were interested in these high growth, high wage fields. And I happened to be an accountant. They said KPMG Pete Marwick. I said, well, what is that? Is that a radio station? I said, no, it's a Big 8 accounting firm, now Big 4, and we're going to interview you. So just that 2 years of working at KPMG, I was exposed through internship, and I was able to make my decision on moving with that company or going to another company or a different career path. So early exposure is key.
Yep. And you mentioned a little bit of the different types of exposure. So when we're thinking every student needs a plan and making sure that they have the exposure and some experiences, let's talk about a couple of them. It can look a little different. There is the work-based learning, which involves job shadowing. So those, and I say this so that our listeners who are like the employers and the corporations, if you have opportunities or you're interested for students, it's definitely worth investing in them because you're getting it back in resources for those students and those parents and educators who are interested in that. These are things that they want to dive into. Career mentorship. Mentoring is big.
Yes. Yes.
I know National Mentorship is next month. It's in January. So we're going to have some folks on talking about mentorship as well. But that's also big for students because sometimes you have to see folks in those positions and you can have that person who's guiding you into these different opportunities. Internships, apprenticeships, all of these things are all a part of like your work-based learning, and every student has a plan. For that student or that educator who wants to know more, wants to get into it more. So let's start with the students, really. Okay. So for that student who says, hey, you know what, I'm listening to Mr. Nelson and Mr. Van over here talking on this podcast, and I'm interested. What do I need to do? How do I develop a plan? Where do I get into it? What should I be thinking
Let's
about?
go back to the 17-year-old, Tiffanie and the 17-year-old Leland.
Okay.
So it's going to be talking to your counselor. But counselors have a heavy load. They have about 325 kids per counselor. That's a lot.
It is.
So some of it is not on them, it's on us. And they have assessments out there. You can take different career assessments that will expose your likes and dislikes regarding careers. Those guest speakers come into the classrooms. Even having, it's got to be Christmas and New Year's. Talk to your family. What do you do? What do you do for a living? I love Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. He said, nice car, what do you do? And that little moment it changed his career. So it's the people that you meet in the books that you read, but just meeting someone on a speaker can change the way you move. Dr. Trent Gray, a proud Harrisburg graduate, he was exposed at Sci Tech on just, okay, let's look at the world of money, okay, and look at low wage jobs and high wage job opportunities. And he looked at, a pharmacist makes this much money, and this man is now a pharmacist.
Yes.
It came through a classroom that says, you want to make this type of money? What job pays that? And how do you get there? So it's different ways that will expose a kid to helping them develop their own plan. So I think, it's very important to get in those classrooms. It's very important to expose them any which way possible. One thing I'll note, too, that was, I kind of keep this stuff in my mind. As a wrestling coach, we were in Virginia Beach about 5 years ago. It was a gentleman there recruiting for a company. Had a table like this, had his same little skirt here with the logo. I said, man, this is smart. He's around 5,000 kids for 3 days, all wrestlers. He said, I was a wrestler. They found me here 10 years ago. Now I'm back recruiting. So
Nice.
It's full cycle. He said, what we do is pipeline, they do infrastructure. So you're going to get down and dirty, but they're starting at $55,000 a year, no degree. I was amazed that I said, you know what? You're fishing in the right pond. And he could talk to him because he was a wrestler. He's coming back to recruit other wrestlers.
He could relate to them.
Absolutely.
And they could relate to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the takeaways I'm getting with you, it's about a conversation, it's about relationship building, and it's about just talking, and that's a starting point. Sometimes with talking to students, they're a little shy. And we've seen them, like if you're in a college or career fair or those different things, like they kind of sit back and on the cut and they don't really engage. So one of the things I'm hoping students will start to do is start to engage. Put down the phones, have a conversation, start to engage. And I agree, I tell students this also, have a conversation with just your folks in your everyday surrounding. If you say you want to be a doctor, you want to be a pharmacist, go talk to those pharmacists that are there. Hey, what was your experience like? Tell me the pros, tell me the cons about being a pharmacist. And It's funny because you mentioned Trent, and we went to school with their parents, so it's nice to see him doing that. I also have a nephew who is a pharmacist, and he had that exposure, and he had, opportunities to talk to folks. And again, the money is not bad at all for a student. And another one, and I'll tout them, and I don't talk about my family on here a lot, but I will shout them out. So my nephew, his sister, she's always wanted to be an attorney. And she knew that early on, I want to be an attorney. But she also said, hey, listen, my parents don't have a whole lot of money. I need to take advantage of every opportunity that is out there. So while she was in her undergraduate degree, she was like, hey, I can knock this out in 3 years. Let's knock it out. Time is money, right? So you're going to knock this out. The other part was she didn't want to be bogged down with so much in law school degrees. She ended up becoming a financial planner first. So you learn how to manage money, help other people manage money. Right. And then that set her off. So by the time she finished law school, she's not as bogged down. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know her status as far as how many student loans she took out or what she didn't. But her process and her path was a lot easier. And it came from having conversations and being exposed to different opportunities and not shying away from them. Not being the student who just was looking at the phone and too afraid to actually have a conversation. So I encourage students to have a conversation. For parents, if you don't know how to help your kids, there are resources, whether we're talking about FIA, whether we're talking about individuals here who will help you all. There are websites. We have one called educationplanner.org.
Oh, awesome website.
Right?
Plug to educationplanner.org. I still have that. From years ago, I still have that.
And one of the reasons why I like it is we have those assessments on there that you were talking about. And one of them just simply starts with asking the student about their interests. What are your interests and your hobbies? And then it narrows it down and it pairs them into different career clusters to say, hey, you might be interested in these particular things. Then it shoots them out to like Next Move and some other websites for them to do more research.
Next
and
Move?
You can go that way too, right? But I think having access to those resources really helps, because I think there's nothing worse than having that student who says, hey, you know what, I'm going to be this. And they're going to be this because someone told them, hey, you can make a lot of money and this is a good thing and this is a great opportunity. You should do this. I always wanted to be this, but I didn't get that chance. So why don't you do it? And then the student pursues that. They take their time, they take their money, their resources. They get the degree or they start going to school and they're like, I hate this. Yeah. I'm not interested. It's not what I want to do. Correct. So you want them to find their passion. You want them to find their purpose and all of those things. And I think having that career plan that's out there whether it's work-based learning, an internship, or even that conversation, sometimes it helps students to realize, okay, you know what? In order to be a pharmacist, I need to know some science. I need to know some math, and I hate math.
And you have a good point. It goes to, if you want to be this great, here's the work that has to be done on this career path. Since you said you want to be a pharmacist, did you know that you got to know your math, you have to know your sciences, and I get that the students saying, man, I don't want to, because you're teaching. The teaching's kind of old. Let's just say it's kind of it's dated. We had to move to the 21st century, in that they want to know that it's tied to my career. So if you're going to teach math, do applied mathematics based on career pathways. Show me, if you're a construction trade, show me the math that's in construction,
that is
the
required.
math that's in science, the math that's in accounting, the math that's in legal. And they go, oh, so that math teacher might say, hey, because we're doing career pathways, students, go find out 5 ways that you can apply math to that career. You bring it back to us, and then we'll discuss it, and we'll teach it out as far as a classroom discussion. So now, if that would-be lawyer goes and gets the information that's required, that's related to math here, that one would-be lawyer that doesn't want to, that doesn't want to speak up says, oh, okay, they're taking notes. So you have peer-to-peer learning in there too. But I always said that, like, apply mathematics. Somebody says, I'm an accountant by trade. I have not used Pythagorean theory yet. Just saying.
But we had to learn about it. I had
to learn it. How about you show me applied mathematics? I don't know if 2 trains going point A and point B, and then one stops for 15 minutes. What time will we get there? I'm worried about if it's a 25% discount on products before Christmas, what's that price, right? That makes, what's Keystone markup? Applied mathematics is very important. It'll meet the students where they are. They go, hey, you want to learn about this? Here's where it is. And then you connect it. Sometimes, as a wrestling coach, I learned this too. They'll say why. These kids will say, why? Very valid question. Here's why. Because if you do it this way, this may happen to you. And they see they do it their own way. Oh, coach, you was right. If I went to my back and they start counting back points, then it clicks. Now, like when we had practice yesterday after a tournament, they go, it was a lot more attention based on what we told them a week prior. So letting those students, what's happening with these soft skills is it's going to be time management, applied mathematics, taking the initiative to do things, teamwork and collaboration, being flexible, and being able to pivot. If the pandemic didn't show us anything else, it showed that you had to be nimble and pivot. And your career pathway is not linear. It's not going to go, here or there. Some people get there, but the large majority will have to take a road here, a road there. But what remains are the soft skills in your toolbox to help you get to anywhere. Networking, being on time. I didn't show up here at 10:05 saying, hey guys, what time was it? I was in the lobby. I said, I'll be at 9:50. To be on time is to be late. If we're starting at 10, you're there 10 minutes, 15 minutes beforehand. So that's professionalism, I believe.
So at what age group do you think is ideal to start introducing students into career exploration?
So I'll go back to my time at the Harrisburg School District. We were doing it in elementary school because Downey had a career pathway day. It was great. And I tell you, those kids are active at that level. They're telling you, I'm going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a veterinarian. I'm going to be an engineer. They're telling you they're addressing the career. They're asking a lot of great questions. And they are wearing those HR professionals out. By the time you're done with 4 hours of those kids, you're crawling back to your car. You're barely making it back.
So let me just share. I remember I was at, I think the first time I did the Downey Fair where they had career professionals come in. So for our listeners, there's a local elementary school around here, and what they do is they bring in professionals to talk to their younger students. And many people think, oh, they're too young to understand, and they were not. You come in and you water down what you do and all of that. And some came in, they had their questions, and some were just asking and zooming all around, but others were questioning things. Well, why do you do that? Do you like it? What don't you like about it? And I'm thinking those are real questions that everybody should ask. And if they start that early, by the time they get to be in high school, they will have been exposed to so many different people, different careers. They're going to understand what some people like, dislike about it, what is required of it, and it all starts there. And then they can hopefully find their passion or find their dream job, you know. And a lot of times when we're talking about that dream job, I say, hey, find something that you love to do, or you can learn to like do, and you do it well, or can learn to do it well, but you can get paid. The living that you need to get paid what you need to earn a living that you want to, and if it encompasses all that, it's your dream job to me, generally. So.
Yeah,
I think that definitely helps.
Some students need to recognize that some careers in going to college for all. What was done about 7 years ago with the PASHE school district, the state system of higher education, it took all their majors and they start cutting majors because it has to. Why make a person go through 4 or 5 years of school and there's no real work there, or the wage you're going to get paid is just like you'd have been 5 years prior. So now they start doing more careers that are linked to the occupations in your region. That has now come down to the school districts. School districts were supposed to prepare the next generation of employees. That's what we should do now. So while I'm doing it in my consulting business, Think Tank is helping school districts be very intentional about their career paths, right? And linking them to the employers in the area that come into the guest speaking, the work-based learning, the co-op, the field trips, the scholarships. All that's going to be tied in there because they're looking for that next employee, but they haven't talked. The employer, they said, identify a problem, design a plan, and find partners. So identify a problem, career pathways, design a solution. The school district try and do that and find partners. It should be the other way around. The elements are right, but the sequence is wrong. It's find partners. School employers design a solution together, and then come up with your academies that said, when we teach our students this, when you hire, oh, absolutely, I'll take 5, 7 over here, 3 for work-based learning, and then you start having this. Then those employees that are now alums come back and they say, hey, I was just like you 3 years ago. I start working for this company, took some night classes at a local university. Now I am a manager or director of this company. That's what we want to see because it's the message and the messenger. So when I was visiting school districts, the Harrisburg School District, they told me I'm a proud Harrisburg graduate. That meant the world to them.
Changes things,
wow.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
They think you're just from somewhere like some school other than Harrisburg.
You don't know me.
No,
you don't know our story.
I walked these same hallways.
that you did, right?
Yes. So that means a lot, and we have to know our history. That we have great graduates come out of these. Any school district has their alums that have done a great job. They need to come back and talk to the students too.
They can relate to them. So you kind of open up the door to where I'm going to go next. Let's talk about Think Tank Consulting. Okay. What is it?
So
what do you do?
Think Tank started in 2017 after I graduated from Penn State Capitol Campus. My time at KPMG, I learned a lot. That was 10 years. Then running my own business and being the president of the African American Chamber, I said, let's just put this together and use this knowledge to help other companies. So we can kind of hang our hat on management consulting, doing some IT staffing for companies that are looking for temporary or direct hire opportunities, and then a thing called robotic process automation, which is automating mundane processes that we all have in companies. That came about when you look at the pandemic.
Let me stop you. I saw this on here, and I was like, robotic process automation and IT staffing. And I was like, he's going to have to break this down. That is not what I thought you were going to say it was. So I'm glad you broke that out.
And so automation, they know it is generative AI, machine learning, but I call it RPA, and that's growing in if you go to LinkedIn and put RPA, there's developers and architects and solution architects available, and they don't require a degree. And those systems, the platform they use, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, and UiPath, and Microsoft has one too, they're giving the software to the schools and the universities for free. You get a nationally recognized credential. So let's talk about nationally recognized credentials. What's happening in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania now is Act 158. You know about Act 158?
A little bit. Let's tell them.
Okay, let's tell the listeners
tell me all about it.
Act 158 requires, if you're not going to college, and I don't know all of it, but if you're not going to college or you're not you haven't passed the keystones, at a high proficiency level, you can get a nationally recognized credential that helps you with your plan. So, for example, I like flagging. We're doing a lot of infrastructure work in Pennsylvania. 83 South is going to do a $200 million project. They're going to need flaggers. they're going to also need OSHA 30 practitioners, safety folks. So
you can get that in high school.
You
now,
can get that
right?
in high school.
Yeah, I saw that.
You can graduate with an OSHA 30 certificate, a flagging certificate, a robotic process automation certificate.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for that student, it meets them where they are. Cause they have low attention span, like we do too. Like
Mm-hmm.
this whole world of phones and Amazon delivering something in 5 minutes. We need to make sure we have to do the same thing where it's like, okay, I got this credential. Oh, I can do this. That's
so
one
think
step
tank
up.
kind of like puts the plan together, or like what do you all do? You kind of help school districts or help entities, or
we're helping
whatever
school
it is.
districts now. One part of our company is helping school districts develop their 339 plan.
Okay.
Because they got this mandate and they don't really know. It's a project. So you need someone. I think you need a practitioner that says, okay, I'm coming to the school district. This is my project. I'll walk the school through how to implement a 339 plan and an Act 158 plan. And oh, by the way, I have 50 employers ready to come to your school to engage your student, provide work-based learning, co-op, scholarship, etc.
Which is a beautiful thing to do, because I think a lot of times when these employers come in and they're talking to the students, they can actually see the people doing the jobs that they think they want to get into. So it's either reassurance for them to say, yep, this is definitely the path I want to explore, or they'll say, not at all. This is not something I see myself getting into. And I think ultimately what that does, it saves time, it saves money, it saves resources.
It does.
Because you don't have to then spend time, money going to get that particular education when it's like, hey, you know what? What I really want to do is to be an electrician. I don't have to go this path. I can go this path and jump right into it a lot quicker. So I think those kind of opportunities and things really help as well. I also now want to dig a little bit more, because we're about to hit the new year. So we're about to roll into 2020. Where we're at? 2024 is where we're headed to right now. So a lot of students are on break. They're pausing. Everybody comes up with New Year's resolutions and things like that. So for that student who's thinking about career options, exploration, setting goals, things like that, what tips do you have to help them?
That's a good question. I mean, if you're a high school student, like I said, counselors, it's kind of tough though, because they don't have the tool. They haven't been given the tools. So what I want to do is push into the English class, into the math class. English class, read the books and do your papers, but why not go on Educator Planner? And that's one of the artifacts. Now, 339 requires career pathway artifacts. Right. So that's what we are.
And we do have artifacts.
Or work statements. They call I statements. Those I statements can be done in your English class to say, hey guys, okay, first half of class we're going to do this assignment. The second half, or your homework assignment, could be bring back your educationplanner.org, your assessment, and let's review it. Now you're helping that person along. Yeah, I'm taking care of my classwork, but I'm also helping with your career pathway work. So now that student, that teacher is having more engagement in their classroom, because they're like, oh wow, okay, first half is this, but this second half I really want to do.
So let's look at hands-on.
Correct. Let's look at your personal statement that you're going to write to the college. Let's read your. I mean, this is what happened to me. Personal journey. I went to college what's that called? Student aid night or whatever.
How could you forget student aid night? That's what we do.
I went there. I had to go, and I'm the first of 5 kids, and my dad said, we're going. Mr. Sanchez, shout out to him. He had that night in the cafeteria, and my dad said, he leaned over to me and said, how you paying for college? I was like, he said, well, son, I paid for mine. I'm the first of 7 kids. I'm like, what's that to do with me? Like, Dad. But he said, Mr. Sanchez, give my son an envelope with all the scholarship applications in it tomorrow morning. And I think he spooked Mr. Sanchez. The next day, about 7:30, I had an envelope full of 15, 16 different scholarship applications. Brought them home. My dad was very intentional. Bring them home, son. Start doing the application. I'm like, man. You write a personal statement. It was one personal statement that I made one time and copied it 15 times.
Yep.
Really, or tweak it.
Yep.
That should be in your English class.
Yep.
Make it an English assignment, tweak it, and then put it in your college application as well as your scholarship. When I got done with those 16 applications, I got 13 out of 16.
Nice.
Half was because, and I will tell the students this, half of the scholarships I won is because no one else applied.
Right?
You know how that works.
Yeah. No one else applied.
We're in the Divine Nine. We give out scholarships, and they're like, well, no one applied. Now you just have this. So half of the success is in applying. So got that, but I think in the English class we should have personal statements, scholarship applications, education planner, things that they could take along with them. Do your resume, apply for 3 jobs, things like that. So
I think and it's unfortunate, there are some areas that you go with, and we work with students throughout the entire state of PA. Some areas and school districts, they have that, and they work it really well. Some not so much. So sometimes there's that limitation with the access and the resources.
Yeah.
So I think exploration and understanding and making sure that every time we're talking to someone, we're putting that information, out there in front of them. Hey, there's education planner, and there are a lot of them. There's college costs at ed.gov, that's through the Federal Department of Education. Everything's all about college career planning, all of those things. I want to pivot before we run out of time here, because a lot of the stuff that you and I are talking about exploration and students creating a plan, let's talk about your journey, because you have your own journey. Tell us the 17-year-old Leland Nelson briefly.
Yeah, so here's my journey.
Up to where you're at now.
Yeah, okay.
And what influenced your decisions along the way?
Well, I think it's early exposure. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was also an accountant, so I'm an accountant. So I hear that a lot of that stuff happens right at home. He showed me, he ran a local record shop and tape shop in Harry. That's before that was when records and tapes were around. And he had a music store. And I used to do his posting, and it was this big old 10-column application document, 10 columns for accounting. I would write the numbers in and add them up and put double lines and show. I said, huh? He said, son, you like math and blah blah blah. So it came a time that I had to pick a career. And my counselor, Miss Dorothy Parham, I said, I'm gonna go for accounting. And went through accounting. Didn't really know if you'd have back into it. I wish I had some kind of intro to accounting classes in high school. Because here's the thing: a debit's a debit, and a credit's a credit, no matter where you go. It does not change from Howard to Harvard. It's the same. The base framework is the same. We could teach it in high school. We could teach some elements of engineering and accounting and finance in high school. So went there, went to school, paid my way through all my years. I came out, I had a loan at FIA, paid off my first 3 years out of college. I had about $9,000 remaining, and I paid it off. But went through Dell State, was in all type of programs there. Like I was an RA, Men's Council President, Treasurer of the Omega Psi Phi, co-captain on the wrestling team. So I really did a lot of things on campus. They want to see that on your resume. You can't just be a 4.0 student with nothing going on with community. So I would tell the students out there too, get involved in high school. Get involved. Do your, volunteer for the food bank. Volunteer for anything that's nonprofit that you'd be surprised, I might meet you there, and y'all start a conversation. So some of that work-based learning is, I volunteered, I meet Tiffanie, she knows this person, y'all start talking about career paths. I didn't know you want to be an engineer. My cousin's an engineer. They connect, and before you know it, that person's down their pathway to engineering. So it's not a long, spread-out journey here. It's sometimes just real quick with, quick meetings with people. So the rest of my journey is working at KPMG for almost 10 years. I turned 30. I just turned 50, so it's been 20 years on my own, kind of doing my own business. But those fundamental skills I learned at that company, still support me today. Because if you know your numbers, as far as being in your own business, is very essential. Just doing that stuff. So, and I started Think Tank, and I started relaunched that in 17, just for that. I'm looking at these students coming home, and we know that some of these college kids, they get scholarships and their GPA drops, or they're taking remedial classes and they don't really count to their degree. They come home. That's not the end of the road. You can still get up and get back to it with going to a union shop, going to a community college, getting a certificate, starting to work somewhere, and then going and letting that company pay for your career.
So here's a question, and I was going to ask that question. So for that student, because you had a great role model in your dad, you saw, you came in contact with those counselors like the Mr. Sanchez's and things like that. Not everybody always has that at their hands, right there at the forefront. But for those, whether you do or you don't, everybody runs into challenges and difficulties. So let's say you started out here, and hey, you know what, you missed the mark, you get discouraged. What advice do you have to keep students encouraged to say, hey, you know what, it didn't work out this way, but keep going?
It's something to be said about grit and tenacity. I wrestled in high school. I say that was one of the reasons that, that helped me. Sports, if you're in sports and particularly wrestling, once you wrestle, everything else is easy. I truly believe that because it got tough. I'm not telling you, my sophomore year, I almost dropped out of school with a 3.7, got ran out of money. But here's a volunteer point. I volunteered as men's counsel at Delaware State, and when they built this new dorm, Mr. Johnson was the new manager of this building. He had, son, I like what you're doing with men's counsel. Why don't you pick a floor in this new building? For what? To be our RA. Oh, like, he said, we pay room and board, we give you a stipend, and we give you a pager. For those who don't know what a pager is, it's something you put on your head, and it beeps every so often when somebody calls you, and they say hello, or 411 or 911.
You're throwing out a lot of things that make us look really aged here, but keep going.
The pager was the sealing, it sealed the deal, and I got through my last 2 years at Delaware State. So it takes, anyone that graduates, that's why everybody, cries and hugs, because it's a lot that happens between those 4 years. You're going from, a young adolescent to an adult. Mm-hmm. And in that time, you're changing, So, but even with those college students, they need to still have internships. Don't just go through 4 years and not get that internship your sophomore or junior year. Very important, because it's funny how society treats you. You go through 4 years. Here's my degree. Well, what's your experience? I just got out of school. I just got out of school. They want experience and your degree. So the employers have to be, part of my job too is to make sure the employers, the students, the parents, all kind of, they're singing from the same sheet of music, because it's a little give and take. We got to remember where we were, and the ones that kind of rise to the top, you give them an opportunity. Don't keep on moving the goalpost. Give me an opportunity. Let me prove myself, and you might find a really good employee in the ranks. But instead, it's like, oh, if you just had this, if you just had that. It can't be if you just had. I know the opportunity I give in my own company is because I'm like, you know what? I see something in you. I'll put you to work. I'll see how you do, and give you your first opportunity. It goes onto your resume, and people know the brand, so they might say, oh, you work for him? Okay, yeah, come work for me. So, it's a lot there as far as career pathways and exposure. And this holiday season, I think, ask those questions. This might be sent out after, I don't know, but ask the question. It's really holistic in the community. It's an ecosystem. And when that student says they want to be this, you need people that are going to help you get there. Part of it is on you, and all they want you to do is take the initiative to really, they say, hey, be here, you're there. They say, apply for this, you apply. And before you know it, you just put one foot in front of the other until you get there.
So in essence, kind of to wrap most of this up, we talk about every student has to have a plan, right? And in addition to that, it kind of sounds like we're also saying it also takes a village in order to make that happen. So you need, it's like an all hands on deck type of a thing, whether we're talking the employers, we're talking the school districts, we're talking mentors or counselors and anyone else. So hopefully everybody who is tuning in is saying, hey, what can I do to do my part to help these younger students, because they are truly our future. They're the ones that are going to make a difference in the world. We're at the end of 2023, so I think this is a great opportunity for many of us, even whether you're younger or you're older or more seasoned, wherever you're at in your life, to start thinking about where you are, the type of impact that you want to have on our younger folks or even in your own lives, and then make that happen.
Absolutely.
Before we totally wrap up, any New Year's resolutions for you?
I mean, everybody says, I almost do the funny one, like, oh, I'll lose 30 pounds. And I mean, I'm in a good space right now. So I don't have a real, it's like stay consistent. I want to stay consistent. I think consistency is key. The resolutions I have is if I can consistently do what I've done this year, next year I'll do well. So that's all I have really. I don't have a big bowl. Because they get broken so fast. So it's like stay consistent. Keep on. If you set one goal and you achieve it, go for another one. It's the journey of this thing too. Everyone thinks that at the end of the goal you're done. It's another goal coming.
Absolutely.
It's a journey, so it's not like, oh, I'm done. I'm finally done. No, if you're in this life, you're going to keep on pushing for you'll see one thing that keeps you sparked up. I achieved this, and that gives you enough fuel to go to the next thing and the next thing. So we're all being exposed to our lives, so I might say, oh, I want that. Yeah, you know what? I was just in a Chesapeake. I want me a boat now, so I don't know what it's going to be.
And by nature, you are a go-getter. So I'm glad you said the one part saying, hey, once you achieve that one goal, it's time to set another one. And maybe even set it before you've even completed fully the last one. So before we totally wrap up, anything else that we missed that you want to share with our listeners?
No, it was very comprehensive. I think I don't have anything that I would share in addition. I'm thinking here, kind of got me stumped on that, but
we can have a part two if we.
Yeah, we can have a part. We can have a part two
at any time.
I would say it's awesome that this is the platform we need. It should be simulcast, hopefully in every school district, just so you can learn from other people's experiences. Sometimes you leapfrog other leapfrog other people just because, like I said, you met someone and you heard their story. They said, "Wow, I was just like that. If he can do it, if she can do it, I can do it." And before you know it, it's that. And my wrestling coach, Coach Dom, he has a thing that says believe. And that's all it is. It's like believe. Mm-hmm. And my dad used to say, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. That's Napoleon Hill. So, I was reading Think and Grow Rich at 16 years old. When everybody else was getting like 16, sweet 16 birthday parties, he gave me a book. I'm like, Dad, that book was worth where I am today. So I read that book cover to cover multiple times. I give it out to graduates of Harrisburg School District. I used to do with the SBI program, and just to make sure that, hey, read this book. I don't know how many did it, but read it, take the lessons learned in here, and apply them. Because it has to be applied knowledge. It's not just not knowledge; it's applied knowledge.
So I think one of the reasons why I wanted you on here is because number one, it's that your journey, I think, is impactful. And you are a mentor, you're a coach, you're folks that people look up to, you're relatable, but you're in the communities and you're doing the work. Yeah. And I think your story, you don't have a problem sharing, hey, these are my successes. These are the areas where I may have made a few missteps, and you share that. So you give so many people opportunities to learn and to grow, and you're always learning and growing, and you never stop. So like you said, you went back in 2017, and you're like, hey, let me knock out this master's degree. Then here comes Think Tank and everything else. So for those who are listening, for all of our readers, I thank Mr. Leland Nelson for being here today. If you are in the local area and you see him, don't be shy. It's okay to ask him some questions. He's very engaging and he's very giving of his time. You've heard him talk about coaching as well. So the coaching, is a big part of your life, and you coach not just on the wrestling mats. You coach all throughout. So I thank you for what you do in the community. I thank you for your time. Always welcome back here at the Higher Education Access Corner. For those of you who are listening to us today, thanks for joining us at the Higher Education Access Corner, and we wish you happy holidays and good luck in all of your future endeavors.